Hi guys, Jay Smith here, down at Bury Golf Range in Suffolk. It's time for the Mizuno T22 Wedge time. Now, going to be a different review today. It's not going to be the classic thing which probably most people expect you to do. Go on the golf course, hit lots of shots on the grass, on the green, big divots, spin, all that thing. There's going to be plenty of stuff out there. By all means, go on other people's channels, have a look at that one. I'm going to test, obviously, how they perform. Of course I will, and we will go and have a look at what they look like. But I want to test something, and I've never had the opportunity to test it, of which I have now, because Mizuno have given me the T22 50 in the satin chrome, the 54 in the raw, the one that weathers, rusts over time, and the 58 in what can only be described, in my own view, the most gorgeous finish a golf club has ever been put in, Copper Denim. We'll look at that one later on. Anyway, the 54, the rusty one. Perfect opportunity. It was delivered with its own little sheath, its own little wrapper. In that wrapper, little bits of oil on there to make sure it doesn't rust before it gets in your hand. So, took that wrapper off, took the oil off, absolutely raw, fresh wedge. Gonna do that test between that and then when it gets rusty. And we'll go see. Let's see if we can test the myth. Does a rusty wedge spin more than a fresh, not rusty wedge? Let's go test. So outside now in the outdoor teaching bay, and we're about to go see how these T22 wedges look, feel, perform, etc. Now, on first glance, we won't talk about the copper one yet. We'll leave that one for a minute. And we'll leave the little rusty one as well, because we don't want to spoil anything on that one. We'll put them down there. So the range starts with the old 46, I think it comes in, and all the way up to 62, I think it is. If I can find them down, I'll stick them down there anyway, so you can see. And you've got three different finishes. You've got the satin, you've got the raw, which is going to be the main focal part of what's going on, and then obviously the copper. So initially the 50, which I've got in here, I've got this in the satin chrome, and it's okay. If you'd have written a T20 on this rather than T22, for the untrained eye, you'd be believing it was a T20 because they look very, very similar. You could argue that the sole thickness is slightly different, and it hasn't got quite so much an aggressive top line, as in on the old T20 there was quite a thick top edge. You didn't really see it because it was chamfered off at the top, but it was actually quite a lot of meat up there, and that was just basically trying to get the center of gravity slightly higher up, get the flight slightly lower down, a bit more spin and all that lot, yada yada blah. Right, so let's just hit this a few times and then we'll go over to the other ones. So let's go get them on the deck there. Right, so does look smaller, I must admit, than the old T20. Yeah, still feels just exactly the same. Oh, nearly hit it. Than the old T20. When I say old T20, they're not really old at all. It's minute changes. It is definitely minute changes. It feels just exactly the same as the old T20. Nice and soft, because it's made out of the same 1025E as the old T20. I keep on saying old, shouldn't really say old, but it is old technically. Right, last one, because I want to go to the rusty one. I have quad on the floor, FSX mobile capture eyeing, so you'll be able to see these on the old screeneroo, but this is just normal 50-degree wedge shots. Oh, go on, hit it. No. So, yes, everything that I'd expect from a wedge. It's a gap wedge, 50-degree. It does its job. Right, let's go over to the raw, the one that I have now accelerated. So, originally, it came out with the wrapper, and as you can see, it was basically the same normal finish that you get from a satin chrome one, but without the satin chrome. So it was very much so raw, no finish at all. So it's going to rust. So what I did is to test this, because I wanted to see the difference between the old classic myth, rusty wedges spin more than the non-rusty ones. That's why you get them, apparently. So I thought I'd have a go. Brand new wedge is a perfect opportunity to try. So it went from what you saw there to this initially. I then obviously cleaned all the loose stuff off. And so yeah, now when I'd actually done the test, because it's not fair to do the test, because I've done the test already, so I've got to be careful I don't necessarily say what happens. But you've got to be careful, you've got to make sure it's done as scientifically as possibly you can do. So yeah, when it comes to this, I've cleaned all the rust off, no loose stuff, it is just pure rust on the face, and of course, that's what it looks like now. So let's go hit this one. Again, this has got a few less coatings on when it comes to everything, because it is raw, rather than having copper underneath and all that lot. Now, that feels very, very, very similar. As in, if you give me a 50 degree in the raw and it's exactly the same as, apart from actually seeing a little bit of loft, I can't really feel any difference whatsoever. And we are using range balls, obviously, for the initial having a go and see how they feel. But feels lovely and soft, like everything like a Mizuno wedge, blah-de-blah, should do. So the real thing when it comes to Mizuno's choice in the T22 this year is it's not, the change in looks is marginal. When I say marginal, you'd have to be a very trained eye. And if I suppose you get the list down there, this is this, this is this, this is this, this is it, you probably could say there's a 3, 4, 5 points to say there's slight differences. But the main thing when you got Mizuno this year, and bear in mind, when you think, do a competition in your head now, guys, when I say who makes the best wedges in the world? Yeah, you're probably going to say Vokey, because that's the first one that pops in your head. What's the best ball in golf? Pro V1. That's what you have in your head. It may or may not be, but that's what's programmed in your head. So any manufacturer's got a mountain to climb when it comes to these things, because they're going up against, I say marketing, because the Vokey is an exceptionally good wedge. But you are obviously faced that as an issue. So now we've got grinds. We have 4 grinds now rather than 3 last time. And it's trying to get much closer to what Vokeys deliver. That's the whole idea of trying to break into the market. Is a difficult thing for a manufacturer, because you've got a need to shed a boatload of money to R&D and development and putting the choices out there when you haven't as yet got the market share. It's a big, bold statement to add another grind. And those grinds are fairly loft specific. But yeah, feels lovely. Right, let's go to the, let's go to the copper. My favourite. Oh, right, okay. Wow, is all I'm saying. Possibly the nicest looking wedge ever. Any manufacturer's ever made. It looks exactly the same as all the other ones, just with a bit more loft. However, it's the finish. It's copper denim. So under normal, you've got the 1025E, you've got some nickel plate. You've got the copper, then you've got some nickel plate. And then you've got the chrome when it comes to, yeah, the satin one. But when it comes to the raw, it's just raw. That's it. None of that. This stops when it goes 1025E, nickel plate, copper. So this is the copper that's underneath all the MP20, the new irons which are coming, of which I'm pretty certain I can say Mizuno 221, 223, 225. It's called Mizuno Pro, but yeah, old MP. But this is the same ones underneath that. But then they've got this PVU coating, which gives that kind of, well, they call it copper denim, that kind of like darky, blackish, brushed, yeah, looks lovely. However, I have hit this a few times already, and I will say one thing. I will just go give it a hit, and I will react. It's softer. The noise is nowhere near, well, okay, nowhere near. That sounds like it's a huge difference. It's not a huge difference. But there is a difference in sound. A definitive difference in sound. It is duller. And I think it's because you're stopping the process at the very softest copper bit that makes MPs soft. You're hitting the very thing that makes it soft. So, another one. Yeah, it sounds, it really, really is soft. Oh, the problem is this finish, and the more I see it, the more I look at it and stuff like that, it's one of those finishes, and Cobra made like the Ricky Fowler copper irons. It's one of those ones that looks so nice. Just don't hit them, put in a cabinet, in LED, just look at them. And this is very much so similar. Very much so similar. So I've got the 50, 54 and then the 58. And do you know what? You could have a full set of copper. It would just look lovely. But then you wouldn't want to get on the golf course and use them because you're like, I might scratch it. I might ruin the finish. You see, even that was slightly clean, but even that feels lovely. But, okay, so the only thing I found with this is that if you put your finger on it, it will oxidize, or patina, I think is what people say. Just evolve over time. Now, I wonder how long it will take for someone to decide they want to polish something up or do something wacko to an already beautiful wedge. But, so the main thing really of this whole video, after than just sort of show in the new wedges, and they blend much more easier now into the new Mizuno Pro line of irons, which is coming I think in February. So they were built around the blending as such. For it doesn't look like, wow, look at the difference between the irons and the custom wedges. So yeah, just as good as T20. You're not going to get a better spinning wedge than a T20, and you can't improve on that, and they're just as good. They've got very, very good water performance with the hydro this and all that lot. Again, you can't really improve on that. Looks, they're slightly smaller, so the players out there will look over them because they do look small. It's not out of the realms. I mean, you've got so much loft. Forgiveness is a different thing. But, right, but we are talking about this one. This is going to be the whole focus of the video. The 54 with the rusty. So, yeah, different sound. Straight away, different sound. Go on, hit it. Oh. Let's go in the my little room to go see how this performs when you put a premium golf ball next to it, not range balls. And we've done the testing between rusty and no rust. So comment below quickly, what do you think is going to happen? Is it going to spin? How much more do you think this is going to spin more than the raw, the brand new raw finish to the rusty weathered? Guys, welcome to the custom fitting studio. Let's have a look at the numbers for the T22 wedges. So we've got the 50, 54 and 58. We'll do the 50 and 58 first before we get to the main event for the rusty, doesn't make a difference or not. So we'll do the T22 50 first, the gap wedge, the one I've got in the satin chrome. So remember, when it comes to the T22, it's a small change to the T20. We've got all the bits and pieces, like quad cut grooves and the hydro, all that lot, but we've got more bounce options now. So we have a little bit more choice, smaller head, all of that lot. So let's go into it. We won't go into too much detail because effectively it is a 50. It's a gap wedge. It's supposed to do a job. It's the same loft as my own wedge, so I know how far my wedge goes. It goes 50, the 50 degree goes 114, the 54 goes 104, and the 58 goes 93. So that's kind of numbers I'm expecting. So T22 50 degrees ball speed 93.2, 25.5 launch, so launching a little bit like these premium balls, so we'll launch a little bit lower, but 10-3 spin, and yeah, 114 yards, going basically within reason as far as I'd want a 50 degree to go. No surprise there, it's a 50 degree. T22 when it comes to the 58. If you want club head data, guys, you can see that. I'm not really sort of too fussed. They're spinning how I would like to see. I mean, when it comes to the 58 degree, it's spinning at 11.3. Yeah, there's a reason why though. If you look at the information on there, and I will put all the information up on this one definitely. I hit the first few shots. And the way this system works is the bottom one is the first one, and like that going up is the last. So I hit the first one. It will go to the club head data, and I gravitate slightly heely, slightly low as a general rule. But I hit that one fairly okay, and then the next shot I hit really low on the face, and I was surprised because if you look at the data on it, the first one carried 93 and the second one carried 92. And I thought, what? That was a bit of a ropey strike. That's done well to carry within 1 yard of my normal. So I kind of started to think, how wonky could you hit it? So hit my next shot, fairly normal-ish in the middle, by a couple of mil, and yeah, it went 93 yards. And I was having some fun. So then you can see after that, and I will put all those on the screen, I hit some Healy, some low, some toe, all the different bits, even a couple high, just to see, trying to keep within reason everything the same as I possibly could do, but just miss-hit it slightly and just see what it did. And again, you've seen all the data on there, but look at the club head data, when it, the ball data when it comes to 93, 92, 93, 92, 92, 96, 92, 92, 95, 94, 92. You can see there that, I mean, it's doing exceptionally well. Very, very consistent. But then again, it will do, because you can get away with a bit of dodgy strikes within reason when you've got that much loft, because forgiveness works in a different way when you start increasing loft. That's a different video. But yeah, so we've done the 50, we've done the 58. Let's go to the main event. The main event would be myth busting or not. Is a rusty wedge, does it spin more than a non-rusty wedge? Or should we say, does the rust have any effect on adding spin? So I did the test first of all, obviously with no rust, and that would mean straight out of the packet, clean the oil off, and then just hit it a load of times to see in a dry environment, no dirt, no anything else like that, to maximize, obviously keeping the face nice and fresh and all that lot, but just having pure data, because I'm trying to do it as scientifically as I possibly could. And this was raw. Ball data 87.5, 28.3 launch, tiny little baby draws, 11,124 spin. So 11.1 spin, remember that. I'll put it up on the screen anyway so you can see. 27 yards in the air peak height and 106. 1.4 yards offline, 50 degrees, still 50.9, but yeah. So, club data I will also put up on there, because when we compare these, you must make sure, like for like, that you try and keep apples for apples. I can't say that one does one thing, one does another, if they're the same loft, if I am changing dynamics and causing something to happen. So I'll put everything up on the screen so you can see. Right, so there's your club head data, there's your ball data. I'm effectively, club head data is I'm 85.6 miles an hour, I'm down 6.4, little baby path draws out to the right with face slightly closed, lie basically 0, these are custom fit to me. 45.1 degrees of loft, delivered, dynamic loft, and then 2 mil toe, 7 mil low. I will put that on the screen, so that's important, we must remember that. So, after that, I then got the wedge and accelerated the process. So I thought, how am I going to do it in such a small amount of time? I thought, you know what, I'm going to put the old girl in some salt water. Hey, if it's good enough for the Titanic, it'll be good enough for this. So afterwards, obviously it looked somewhat rusty, probably too rusty obviously to be used, because obviously there's a lot of loose stuff on there and that's not a fair test. So took all the loose stuff off and it effectively came back to bare metal with the rust texture on there. There's always going to be people that say, yeah, you need to be doing this, you need to do that, but effectively, as long as you have a layer of rust on the top, a coating, it doesn't have to permeate through the whole of the wedge to give a true result, because the golf ball doesn't hit inside the golf club, it only actually hits on top. But yeah, comment below, because there'll be difference of opinion on this, I know. So let's go to ball data first. Let's go club data first now on the T22 54 with it rusting, so you can see if anything has changed. So 85.9 miles an hour against 85.6, 0.3 difference, minus 6.4 degrees attack angle, coming down by 6.4, 6.4, exactly the same. 1.7 out to the right to 2.7 out to the right. That could be physically me just aligning to quad 1 degree different in a 2-week period. Yeah. Minus to path 2.4 against 2.6, so 0.2 of a degree difference to path. That's the important bit. Lie angle of 0.2 against 0.0, again custom fit, no difference, and delivered loft 45.1 against 45.1. So within reason, everything is exactly the same. I'm delivering the same angles as before. Let's do the last remaining variable, strike. The without rust, the raw, was 2 mil toe, 7 mil low. This was 1 mil toe, 6 mil low. I am 1 millimeter and 1 millimeter away. Anyone moaning about a millimeter think we're having yeah, anyway. So let's come to all important ball data. Did it make a difference? Let's go straight to the spin. You'll be able to see there 10,916 against 11,124. So what's that? 200 RPM less? Now, if I honestly thought, and I'll put all the information there, you can sort of see the differences between them. It's a slight difference in ball speed by 0.2. There's a slight half a degree additional in launch, but that, again, that could be the fact that it's quite not as much friction as without the rust. So rather than grabbing and spinning, this one is slightly more rolling up the face and not quite giving as much spin, but yeah. You can see on there that within reason, everything exactly the same, within very small amounts. I was expecting, I don't know, I expected it to spin more, being honest, because it's always been said that that's why the rusty, they spin better as they get older and they do this and they weather this. Well, do you know what? If I would agree with that, and this is rusted, but it's not absolutely weathered of a year-old wedge. But then remember, as the rust, you could say, grows, even though it's fairly rusty now, the grooves and the face wears. So there could be an argument to say that the rust will maintain the spin over a longer period because of the natural drop-off of a normal wedge. That's a different one. And I think I'd have to hit this, and this video would have to be a year long to find that out. But I will keep that in mind and I will continue. I might do another video in the future around this whole topic. But if there was going to be any difference in the texture of rust or weathered wedges, if there was any difference, it was going to be more. Even if it was 100 or 200 RPM more, then I'd say yes, it potentially could. The fact that it spun less, myth busted? Comment below. How would you like to be seen it done differently? How would you like to see the test done in a way where you feel potentially that I haven't captured what you would like? I don't know. I've tried to do it as best I could do it in the most scientific apples for apples way possible. By all means, yeah, comment below and give me your opinion. So, hope you liked the video. If you did, click the old like button below. Next down there, little red button, subscribe. If you do it, that'd be great. And of course, while you're there, bell icon. Click that one. That'll let you know next time I upload another video. Hope you're well, and we'll see you again soon.